kind of quickly reviewing our last reading and what transpired in our tale of Magnus Chase and the Sword of Summer. Basically, as you know, Magnus and his friends Hearthstone and Blitzen, or Hearth and Blitz, traveled to the Dwarven lands, and mostly in search of very fancy and pricey earrings for Blitz's mom. And they went to a tavern and they were like, well, we need to get these nicely crafted in. And they were like, well, the only one that can do it is I think the only guy that could do it was Junior, or the rope that they were trying to get for Fenris was also there.
Yeah, and Fenris the wolf.
Yeah, the rope that they needed remade. And Junior, I think
Gunnerper.
Yeah, and Junior the dwarf, who's not a junior at all, he's quite an old, grizzled old dwarf. He was the one that I think could make it. And he's like, I'm not doing it unless we have a challenge first, you know? And he's like, I propose a dwarven challenge of crafting. And so they're like, fine, we got to do it. Blitz was freaking out. And they came out to this amazing arena with dwarves just packing the stadium seats. And there were 2 forges in the middle. And basically the goal was to forge 3 items within the allotted time. And then the judges would judge the items based on like quality, who made the best quality items. And if you remember, Blitzen's first item after fervently hammering away at metal was a metal duck. That was it, just a metal duck. And Hearthstone, who was watching, was like, oh gods. It's like, yeah, he always makes a metal duck when he's nervous. And Blitzen was like, I can't do this. And Magnus was basically like, dude, snap out of it. You're the best clothing designer I've met. He's like, Magnus, you don't understand. Dwarves don't hold clothing in high regard. They don't see that as a craft. Magnus is like, yeah, but your clothes is amazing. Can't you make it like an armor or something? And he's like, go with what you know, what you're good at. And he was like, okay. And he kind of went at it with renewed energy. Well, as Blitz was going at it with renewed energy and making more of a clothing themed items, his opponent, Junior, the grizzled old dwarf who had a grudge, I guess, he was being attacked by this like horsefly. And every time the horsefly zipped in right as he was about to make a hammer strike, and he'd screw up on the hammer strike or something would happen. Well, this last time he basically like it swooped in and bit him right on the nose, and he squealed and basically swung around and knocked out both of the burly bodyguards that he had on either side of him. And it kind of wrecked 2 of his earlier projects, and had the third one fall into the forge, into the fires, and ruin that one. So we are now at the place where they're like, okay, it's time to like look at what everybody's made. And we got a metal duck, and I guess maybe some clothing that Blitz made, and 3 ruined items that this old dwarf made. And all we can think of is, what up with the horsefly?
So I'm gonna read the whole page.
Yeah, we're gonna read the last page that we had ended with, and then
we're gonna read the other paragraph.
Yeah, you'll read the
Yeah, I'll read.
Just read the last.
What?
Just read the last page.
There's more important. There's one important thing that you got to remember.
Okay.
I glanced over at Junior's workstation. His bodyguards were glaring at me, cracking their knuckles. Let's just get through the contest, I said. I wish Sam was here. We may need to fight our way out. Hearth gave me a curious look when I mentioned Sam. What? I asked. He shook his head and went back to eating his watercress sandwich. The afternoon session went quickly. I was so busy on guard duty, I barely had time to think. Junior must have hired some extra saboteurs, because every half hour or so I had to deal with a new threat. A spear thrower thrown from the audience, a rotten apple aimed at Blitzen's head, a steam-powered predator drone, and a pair of dwarves in a green spandex jumpsuits, wielding baseball bats. The less said about that, the better. Each time, the Sword of Summer guided my hand and neutralized the threat. Each time I remembered to thank the sword. I could almost discern its voice now. Yeah, okay. I suppose. Like it was slowly warming up to me, getting over its resentment of being ignored. Hearthstone rushed around the workstation, bringing Blitz extra materials and tools. Blitz was weaving a larger, more complicated piece of metal fabric. Whatever it was, he seemed pleased. Finally, he set down his bezel roller and shouted success. At the same moment, Junior suffered from his most spectacular fail. His bodyguards had been standing close, ready for another kamikaze insect attack. But it made no difference. As Junior brought down his hammer for a master stroke, a dark speck zipped out of the sky. The horsefly bit Junior on the face so hard he spun sideways under the momentum of his hammer. Railing and staggering, he knocked both his guards unconscious, destroyed the contents of two work tables, and swept his third invention into the forge before he collapsed on the asphalt.
Oh
It
man.
shouldn't have been funny, an old dwarf getting humiliated like that, except that it was. Kind of. Probably because that old dwarf was a spiteful, nasty piece of work. In the midst of the commotion, Nabi rang a handbell. The contest has ended, he announced. Time for judging the items and killing the loser.
Whoa. Because remember, whoever loses is beheaded. That's the rules
Right.
of the competition.
Junior wins a bag of tears. 44. Junior wins a bag of tears. Sam picked that moment to show up. She shouldered through the crowd, her headscarf pulled low over her face. Her jacket was with ash, as if she'd spent the night in a chimney. I wanted to yell at her for being gone so long, but my anger evaporated when I noticed her black eye and swollen lip. What happened? I asked. Are you okay? Little scuffle, she said. No worries. Let's watch the judging. Spectators gathered around two tables on the sideline where Junior's and Blitzen's crafts were on display. Blitzen stood with his hand clasped behind his back, looking confident despite his snapped suspenders, his grease-stained shirt, and his sweat-soaked pork pipe hat. Junior's face was a bloody mess. He could barely hold himself up on his walker. The murderous gleam in his eyes made him look like a serial killer exhausted after a hard day's work. Nabi and the other judges circled the tables, inspecting the crafted items and jotting down notes on their clipboards. At last, Nabi faced the audience. He arched his wiggly eyebrows and tried for a smile. Well then, he said, thank you all for attending this contest, sponsored by Nabi's Tavern, famous among taverns built by Nabi and home of Nabi's Stout. The only mead you'll ever need. Now our contestants will tell us about their first items. Blitzen, son of Freya. Blitz gestured to his metal sculpture. It's a duck, Nabi blinked. And what does it do? When I pressed its back, Blitzen did so. The duck swelled in three times its size, like a frightening pufferfish. It turns into a larger duck. The second judge scratched his beard. That's it? Well, yes, Blitz said. I call it the Expando duck. It's perfect if you need a small metal duck or a larger metal duck. The third judge turned to his colleagues. Garden knick-knack, perhaps. Garden knick-knack, perhaps. Conversation piece, decoy. Nabby coughed. Yes, thank you, Blitzen. And now you, Eitri Jr., son of Edna, what is your first creation? Junior wiped the blood out of his eyes. He held up his flattened iron cylinder with several springs and latches dangling from it. This is a guided troll-seeking missile. If it were undamaged, it could destroy any troll at a distance of half half a mile, and it's reusable. The crowd murmured appreciatively. But does it work? Asked the second judge. No, Junior said. It was ruined on the final hammer stroke. But if it did work, but it doesn't, observed the third judge. So what is it at the moment? It's a useless metal cylinder, Junior snarled, which isn't my fault. The judges conferred and scribbled some notes. So in the first round, Nabby summed up, we have an expendable duck versus a useless metal cylinder. Our contestants are running very close indeed. Blitzen, what is your second item? Blitzen proudly held up his chainmail neckwear. The bulletproof tie. The judges lowered their clipboards in perfect synchronicity. What? Asked Nabby. Oh, come now. Blitz turned to the audience. How many of you have been in the embracing situation of wearing a bulletproof vest without a matching bulletproof tie? In the back of the crowd, one dwarf raised his hand. Exactly, Blitzen said. Not only is this accessory fashionable, but it will stop anything up to a 30-06 round. It can also be worn as a cravat. The judges frowned and took notes, but a few audience members seemed impressed. They examined their shirts, maybe thinking how undressed they felt without a chainmail neckpiece. Junior asked Nabby, what is your second work of craftsmanship? The Goblet of Infinity. Junior gestured to a misshapen hunk of iron. It holds a limitless amount of any liquid, great for road trips through waterless wastelands. Nabby pointed with his pen. It looks a bit crushed. Stupid horsefly again, Junior protested. It bit me right between the eyes. Not my fault if an insect turned my brilliant invention into a slag heap. Slag heap, Nabby repeated, jotting on his clipboard. And Blitzen, your final item? Blitzen held up a glittering length of woven metal fabric. The chainmail vest for use with a 3-piece suit of chainmail. Or if you want to dress it down, you can wear it with jeans and a nice shirt. And a shield, Hearthstone offered. Yes, and a shield, Blitzen said. The third judge leaned forward, squinting. I suppose it would offer some minor protection if you were stabbed in the back at a disco. For instance, the second judge jotted something down. Does it have any magic abilities? Well, no, Blitz said, but it's reversible. Silver on the outside, gold on the inside, depending on what jewelry you're wearing or what color armor. I see, Nabby made a note on his clipboard and turned to Junior. In your final item, sir? Junior's fist trembled with rage. This is unfair. I have never lost a contest. All of you know my skills. This meddler, this hosier, Poseur,
Poser, basically.
Poser Blitzen has somehow managed to ruin my Itri Jr., son of Edna, interrupted Nabby. What is your third item? He waved impatiently at the furnace. My third item is in there. It doesn't matter what it was because it's now boiling sludge. The judges circled up and conferred, the crowd shifting restlessly. Nabby faced the audience. Judging has been difficult. We have weighed the merits of Junior's boiling slag heap, and useless metal cylinder against the chainmail vest, bulletproof tie, and expando duck. It was a close call, however. We judged the winner of this contest to be Blitzen, son of Freya. Spectators applauded. Some gasped in disbelief. A female dwarf in a nurse's outfit, possibly. Bambi, famous among dwarf nurses, passed out cold. Hearthstone jumped up and down and made the ends of his scarf do the wave. I looked for Sam, but she was hanging back at the edges of the crowd. Junior scowled at his fists as if deciding whether to hit himself. Fine, he growled. Take my head. I don't want to live in a world where Blitzen wins crafting contests. Junior, I don't want to kill you, Blitzen said, despite his when he didn't sound proud of or gloating. He looked tired, maybe even sad. Junior blinked. You don't? No, just give me the earrings and the rope, as you promised. Oh, and a public admission that my father was right about Glenipner all along. You should have replaced it centuries ago. Never, Junior shrieked. You impugn my father's reputation. I cannot. Okay, I'll get my axe, Blitzen said in resigned tone. I'm afraid the blade is a little dull. Junior gulped. He looked longingly at the bulletproof necktie. Very well, perhaps Billy had a point. The rope needed replacement, and you were wrong to tarnish his reputation. The old dwarf's facial muscles convulsed, but he managed to get out the words, and I was wrong, yes. Blitzen gazed up into the gloom, whispering something under his breath. I wasn't a good lip reader, but I was pretty sure he said, I love you, Dad. Goodbye. He refocused on Junior. Now, about the items you promised. Junior snapped his fingers. One of his bodyguards wobbled over, his head newly bandaged from the recent encounter with a hammer. He handed Blitzen a small velvet box. Earrings for your mother, Junior said. Blitz opened the box. Inside were two tiny cats made from gold filigree like Brinsman. As I watched, the cats stretched, blinking their emerald eyes and flickering their diamond tails. Blitz snapped the box shut. Adequate. And the rope? The bodyguard tossed him a ball of silk tight string. You're joking, I said. That's supposed to bind Fenris Wolf? Junior glowered at me. Boy, your ignorance is breathtaking. Glenipner was just as thin and light, but its paradox ingredients gave it great strength. This rope is the same, only better. Paradox ingredients. Blitz held up the end of the rope and whistled appreciatively. He means this. He means things that aren't supposed to exist. Paradox ingredients are very difficult to craft with, very dangerous. Glenipner contained the footfall of a cat, the spittle of a bird, the breath of a fish, and fish the beard of a woman. Don't know if that last one is a paradox, I said. Crazy Alice in Chinatown has a pretty good beard. Junior huffed. The point is, this rope is even better. I call it Endiscuti. The adversary of it is woven with the most powerful paradoxes in the 9 worlds. Wi-Fi was no lag. A a polit a
Politicians.
politician's sincerity sincerity SINCRITY
Synchrity.
sincerity.
SINCRITY.
Yeah,
Synchrity.
synchrity. A printer that prints healthy deep fried food in an interesting grammar lecture. Okay, yeah, I admit those things don't exist. Blitz stuffed the rope in his backpack. He took out his pouch of tears and handed it to the old dwarf. Thank you, Junior. I consider our bargain complete, but I would ask one more thing. Where is the island of Fenris Wolf? Junior hefted his payment. If I could tell you, Blitzen, I would. I'd be happy to see you ripped apart by the wolf like your father was. Alas, I don't know. But yes, I said, I checked on the rope from time to time. I lied. The truth is, very few gods or dwarves know where the Wolf's Island appears. Most of them are sworn to secrecy. How your father found the place, I really don't know. But if you want to find it, the best person to ask is Thor. He knows, and he has a big mouth. Thor, I said. Where do we find Thor? I have no idea, Junior admitted. Hearthstone signed. Sam might. She knows a lot about the gods. Yeah, I turned. Sam, get over here. Why are you lurking? The crowd parted around her. As soon as Junior saw her, he made a strangled squawk. You. It was you. Sam tried to cover her
No.
busted lip. Sorry, have we met? Oh, don't play innocent with me. Junior scooted forward on his walker, his flushed scalp turning his gray hair pink. I've seen shapeshifters before. That scarf is the same color as the horsefly's wings. And that black eye is from when I swatted you. You're in league with Blitzen. You're in league with Blitzen, friends, colleagues, honest dwarves. Kill these cheaters. I was proud that the 4 of us responded as a team in perfect unison, like a well-oiled combat machine. We turned and ran for our lives.
Wow. Dude, I knew the fact that she was gone for so long. And earlier, like, Hearthstone was like, well, why don't you? And she's like, you promised you'd never talk about that,
Yeah.
So she can actually shapeshift. That's crazy.
Yeah. 45. I get to know Jack. I'm pretty good at multitasking, so I figured I could flee in terror and argue at the same time. A horsefly? I yelled at Sam. You can turn into a horsefly? She ducked as a steam-powered dart buzzed over her head. Now is not the time. Oh, excuse me. I should wait for the designated talk about turning into horseflies time. Hearthstone and Blitzen led the way. Behind us, a mob of 30 dwarves was closing fast. I didn't like their murderous expressions on their fine assortment of handcrafted weapons. This way, Blitzen ducked down that alley. Unfortunately, Hearthstone wasn't watching. The elf barreled straight ahead. Mother, Blitzen cursed. At least I thought it was a curse until Sam and I reached the corner and faltered. A few steps down the alley, Blitz was trapped in a net of light. He squirmed and cussed as the glowing web lifted him into the air. It's my mother, he yelped. She wants her damnable earrings. Go, catch up with Hearthstone. I'll meet you. Pop, our dwarf disappeared in a flash. I glanced at Sam. Did that just happen? We got
That's awesome.
other what?
So he just disappeared.
Yeah, he disappeared because his mother wanted him for the earrings. and Pop, our dwarf disappeared in a flash. I glanced at Sam. Did that just happen? Question. He's asking Sam
Did he really,
if
did he really just teleport away?
yeah, did he just disappear? Did he just like come on? We've got other problems. She pulled out her axe. The mob had caught up with us. They fanned out in an angry semicircle of beards, scowls, baseball bats, and broadswords. I wasn't sure what they were waiting for. Then I heard Junior's voice somewhere behind them. Hold on, he wheezed. I wheezed till wheezed first. The mob parted, flanked by his bodyguards. The old dwarf pushed his walker toward us. He eyed me, then Sam. Where are Blitzen and the elf? Junior muttered. Well, no matter. We'll find them. You, boy, I don't care about so much. Run now and I might let you live. The girl is obviously a daughter of Loki. She bit me and ruined my crafting. She dies. I pulled off my pendant. The sword of summer grew to full length. The crowd of dwarves edged backward. I guess they knew a dangerous blade when they saw one. I'm not going anywhere, I said. You'll have to take on both of us. The sword hummed for attention. Correction, I said. You'll have to take on all three of us. This is Summer Brander. Summer Brander. This sort of summer. Crafted by, actually, I'm not sure, but it is definitely famous among swords. And it is about to kick your collective butts. Thank you, said the sword. Sam made a squeaking noise. The dwarves' shocked expressions told me I hadn't imagined hearing the sword's voice. I held up the blade. You can talk? I mean, of course you can talk. You have many incredible abilities.
The sword said thank you?
Yeah, the sword said thank you, so it talks.
No way.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. The sword's voice was definitely male. It emanated from the runes along the blade, which vibrated and glowed with every word like the lights on a stereo equalizer. I gave the dwarves an arrogant look, like, yeah, that's right. I've got a talking disco sword, and you don't. Summer Brander, I said, how do you feel about taking on this mob? Sure, said the sword. You want them dead, or? The mob shuffled backward in alarm. Nah, I decided, just make them go away. You're no fun, the sword said. Okay, then let go. I hesitated. I didn't particularly want to hold a flashing, talking, humming sword, but dropping my weapon didn't seem like the natural first step toward victory. Junior must have sensed my reluctance. We can take him, he yelled. He's one boy with a sword he doesn't know how to use. Sam snarled. In a former Valkyrie with an axe, she very much does know how to use. Ah, Junior said. Let's get him, boys. Granny Shuffler, activate. Rows of dagger blades extended from the front of his walker. 2 miniature rocket engines fired in the back, propelling Junior toward us at a mind-boggling 1 mile an hour. Boggling 1 mile an hour. His comrades roared with and charged. I let go of my sword. It hovered in the air for a split second. Then it flew into action, faster than you could say, son of Edna. Every dwarf was disarmed. Their weapons were cut in half, split down the middle, knocked to the ground, or diced into horrors, the oversized cubes. I don't think I said that right.
Try it again.
Into HORSDOEURUVRE.
Oh, hors d'oeuvre, hors d'oeuvre size.
It's HORS though.
Yeah, I know the S is silent. It's hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres.
Like, you know those fancy starters that you get at a party?
Yeah. So into hors d'oeuvres size cubes. The daggers and rockets were sheared off Junior's walker. The severed ends of 30 beards fluttered into the pavement, leaving 30 shot boards with 50 peasantless facial hair. The sword of summer hovered between the mob and me. Anybody want more? The sword asked. The dwarves turned and fled. Junior yelled over his shoulder as he hobbled away, following his bodyguards, who were already a block ahead of him. This isn't over, boy. I'll be back with reinforcements, Sam Loader asked. That was wow. Yeah, I agreed. Thank you, Summerbrander. De nada, said the sword. But you know, Summerbrander is a really long name, and I've never liked it much. Okay, I wasn't sure where to look when addressing the sword. The glowing runes, the tip of the blade. What would you like us to call you? Zord hummed thoughtfully. What is your name? Magnus. That's a good name. Call me Magnus. You can't be Magnus. I'm Magnus. Then what is her name? Sam. You can't be Sam either. It would be too confusing. The blade wished from side to side. Well, what is a good name? Something that fits my personality and my many talents. But I don't really know you as well as I'd like to. I looked at Samara, who just shook her head like, hey, it's your disco sword. Honestly, I said, I don't know. Jack? Jack, the sword cried. Perfect. The thing about talking swords, it's hard to tell when they're kidding. They have no facial expression or faces, so you want me to call you Jack? Is it a noble name? Said the sword. It is a noble name, said the sword, fit for kings and sharp carving implements. Okay, I said, well then, Jack, thanks for the save. You mind if I reached for the hilt, but Jack floated away from me. I wouldn't do that yet, he warned. The piece of my amazing abilities as soon as you sheathe me or turn me into a pendant or whatever, you will feel just as exhausted as if you had performed all my actions by yourself.
Oh my God.
My shoulder muscles tightened. I considered how tired I would feel if I had just destroyed all those weapons and cut all those beards. Oh, I didn't notice that earlier because you hadn't used me for anything amazing yet. Right. In the distance, an air raid horn howled. I doubted they got many air raids in an underground world, so I figured the alarm had to do with us. We need to go, Sam urged. We have to find Hearthstone. I doubt Junior was joking about reinforcements. Finding Hearthstone was the easy part. 2 blocks away, we ran into him as he was coming back to find us. Well, what the helium? He said. Where is Blitzen? I told him about Freya's gold net. We'll find him, right? We'll find him. Right now, Junior is calling up the Dwarven National Guard. Your sword is floating, Hearth noted. Your elf is deaf, Jack noted. I turned to the sword. I know that. Sorry. Introductions, Jack, Hearth, Jack. Hearth sign. Is it talking? I don't read sword lips. What is he saying? Jack asked. I don't read elf hands. Guys, Sam pointed behind us, a few blocks away. An iron-plated vehicle with caterpillar treads and a mounted turret was returning slowly onto our street. That's a tank, I said. Junior has a tank. We should leave, Jack said. I am awesome, but if I try to destroy a tank, the strain might kill you. Yeah, I agreed. How do we get out of Nidavellir? Nidavellir. Hearthstone clapped for my attention. This way. We sprinted after him, zigzagging through alleys, knocking over carefully handcrafted garbage cans that probably had names and souls. From somewhere behind us, a deep boom rattled with windows and made pebbles rain from above. Is the tank shaking the sky? I yelled. That can't be good. Hearthstone led us down another street of clapboard row houses. Dwarves sat on stoops, clapping and cheering as we ran by. A few of them recorded videos of us on uniquely crafted smartphones. I figured our attempt getaway would go viral on the dwarven internet, famous among internets. Finally, we reached what would have been the southern edge of South Boston, on the far side of the avenue, instead of the M Street beach. The ground dropped off into a chasm. Oh, this is very helpful, Sam said. Behind us, in the gloom, Junior's voice shouted, Bazookas, take the right flank. Hearthstone led us to the rim of the canyon. Far below, a river roared. He signed, we jump in. Are you serious? I asked. Blitzen and I did this before. River washes out of Nidavellir. To where? Depends, Hearthstone signed. That's not reassuring, said Sam. Hearthstone pointed back toward the avenue. The dwarven mob was gathering tanks and jeeps and RPGs and a whole bunch of really angry geriatric dwarves and armor-plated walkers. I said that wrong. RPGs and a whole bunch of really angry geriatric dwarves and armor-plated walkers. We jump, I decided. Jack the sword hovered next to me. Better hold me now, boss. Otherwise, I might get lost again. But you said the exhaustion might make you pass out, the sword agreed. On the right side, it looks like you're going to die anyway. He had a point. Oh, sorry, that was bad. I took the sword and willed it back into pendant form. Just had time to attach it to the chain before my legs buckled. Sam caught me. Hearthstone take his other arm. As my vision went dark, Sam and Hearth helped me leap off the cliff because, you know, what are friends for? 46. Aboard the good ship Toenail.
This is awesome.
I knew I was in trouble when I woke up dreaming I found myself standing next to Loki on the deck of a massive ship. There you are, said Loki. I was starting to wonder how. I noticed his outfit. What are you wearing? You look like you. What are you wearing? You like it? His scarred lips twisted into a grin. His white admiral's jacket gleamed with metals, but Loki wasn't exactly wearing it regulation style. It was open over a black t-shirt featuring Jack Nicholson's face from The Shining. The caption read, "Here's Loki." Where are we? I asked. Loki polished his metals with his coat sleeve. Well, neither of us is here, of course. I'm still tied up on a stone slab with snake poison dripping in my face. You're dying on the banks of a river in Jotunheim. What? Whether you live or not, this may be our last chance to talk. I wanted you to see this. Naglfar, the ship of nails, is almost complete. The ship came into clearer focus. A Viking longship, larger than an aircraft carrier. The main deck could have accommodated the Boston Marathon. Giant shields lined the railings. Fore and aft rows railings. Fore and aft rows 34 tall figureheads shaped like snarling wolves. Naturally, they had to be wolves. I peered over the side between two shields. 100 feet down, braided iron cables moored the ship to a dock. The gray sea churned with ice. I ran my hand along the railing. The surface was bumpy and prickly, and enameled with white and gray ridges like fish scales or pearl shavings. At first glance, I'd assumed the deck was made of steel, but now I realized the whole ship was constructed of the weird translucent material, not metal, not wood, but something strangely familiar. What is this? I asked Loki. I don't see any wood or nails. Why is it called the Ship of Nails? Loki chuckled. Not carpentry nails, Magnus. Naglfar is made from the fingernails and toenails of dead men. The deck seemed to pitch beneath me. I wasn't sure if it was possible to puke in a dream, but I was tempted it wasn't just the obvious grossness of standing on a ship made of nails, clippings, that made me nauseated. It was the sheer volume of the material. How many corpses had to contribute their nails to make a ship this size? Once I managed to steady my breathing, I faced Loki. Why? Even with the ruined lips and scarred face, Loki grinned with it so infectious. Loki's grin was so infectious. I almost smiled back. Almost. Amazingly disgusting, isn't it? He said. Back in the old days, your ancestors knew that nail clippings carried part of your spirit, your essence, your DNA. You'd call it now. Throughout their lives, mortals were careful to burn any clippings they made. When they died, their nails would be trimmed and the clippings destroyed so the material wouldn't contribute to this great ship. But sometimes Loki shrugged. As you can see, the proper precautions weren't taken. You've built yourself a battleship out of toenails. Well, the ship is building itself, and technically, Magnifar belongs to Seward and the fire giants. But when Ragnarok comes, I will guide this ship out of the harbor. We'll have to. We'll have an army of giants led by Captain Hiram, plus hundreds and thousands of dishonored dead from Helium, all those who were careless or unlucky enough to die without a sword in their hand. A proper burial and a decent post-mortem mani-pedi will sail to Asgard and destroy the gods. It'll be awesome. I looked aft, expecting to see an army gathering on the shore, but the mist was so thick I couldn't see their end. That is Thor's brother.
Yeah, Loki.
Oh,
That's who's talking to Magnus, right?
yeah.
And sounds like they're doing it on a ship.
Yeah, they're doing it on a ship of toenails. I looked aft, expecting to see an army gathering on the shore, but the mist was so thick I couldn't see the end of the dock. Despite my usual resistance to cold, the damp air soaked into my bones and made my teeth chatter. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Because I like you, Magnus. You've got a sense of humor. You got zing. So rare in a demigod. Even rarer among the Enharji. I'm glad my daughter found you. Samara. That's how she can turn into a horsefly. She's a shapeshifter like you. Oh, she's daddy's girl. All right. She doesn't like to admit it, but she's inherited a lot of things from me. My abilities, my dashing good looks, my keen intellect. She's about talent too, after all. She chose you, my friend. I clutched my stomach. I don't feel so good. Duh, you're on the verge of death. Personally, I hope you wake up. Because if you kick the bucket now, your death will be meaningless and nothing you've done will matter. Thanks for the pep talk. Listen, I brought you here for some perspective. When Ragnarok comes, all bonds will break, not just the ropes binding Fenris. The moorings of the ship snap. The bindings that hold mighty captives snap. Whether or not you keep that sword out of Seward's hand isn't only a matter of time. One bond will snap, and you'll all start going, unraveling like one huge tapestry. You're trying to discourage me. I thought you wanted Ragnarok delayed. Oh, I do. He put up his hands. His wrists were raw and bleeding, as if he'd been handcuffed too tightly. I'm totally on your side, Magnus. Look, I'm at the figureheads. The wolves' snouts aren't finished yet. Is there anything more embarrassing than sailing into battle with half-finished figureheads? So what do you want? The same thing I've always wanted, Loki said. To help you fight your fate. Which of the gods besides me has bothered to speak to you as a friend and an equal? His eyes were like Sam's, bright and intense, the color of burning, but there was something harder and more calculating about Loki's gaze, something that didn't jibe with his friendly smile. I remembered how Sam had described him: a liar, a thief, a murderer. We're friends now? I asked. Equals? We could be, he said. In fact, I have an idea. Forget going to Fenris's Island. Forget facing Sword. I know a place where the sword will be safe. With you? Loki laughed. Don't touch me, kid. No. I was thinking about your Uncle Randolph. He understands the value of the sword. He's spent his life looking for it, preparing to study it. You might not know it, but his house, is heavily fort- fortified with magic. If you took the sword to him, well, the old man can't use it himself. But the sword, but he would store it away. It would be out of Stuart's hands, and that's what matters. Ah, it would buy us all some time. I wanted to laugh in Loki's face and tell him no. I feared he was trying to trick me, yet I couldn't see his angle. You think it's a trap, Loki said. I get that, but you must have wondered why Mimir told you to take the blade to the Wolf's Island, the very place where Seward wants to use it. What's the sense in that? What is Murmur is playing? What if Murmur is playing you? I mean, come on. That old severed head runs a Pinocchio racket. If you don't bring me the sword to the island, Stuart won't be able to get his hands on it. Why take the risk? I struggled to clear my thoughts. You're you're a you're a smooth talker. You'd make a good ear salesman, used car salesman. Look, you wink. I think the term is pre-owned. You've got to make a choice soon, Magnus. We must not be able to speak again. We may not be able to speak again. If you want a gesture of good faith, however, I can I can sweeten the deal. My daughter, Hel, and we've been talking. My heart jackknife. Talking about, I'll let her tell you. But now he tilted his head, listening. Yes, you don't have much time. You might be waking up. Why were you bound? The question forced itself out before I realized I was thinking it. I remembered you killed somebody. His smile hardened. The angry lines around his eyes made him look 10 years older. You know how to ruin a conversation, Loki said. I killed Balder, the god of light, the handsome, perfect, incredibly annoying son of Odin and Frigg. He stepped toward me and poked my chest, emphasizing each word, and I'd do it again. In the back of my brain, my common sense yelped, drop it. But as you have probably figured out by now, I don't listen to my common sense much. Why did you kill him? Loki barked a laugh. His breath smelled of almonds like cyanide. Cyanide.
Gay.
Cyanide. Cyanide?
Cyanide.
Cyanide. Did I mention he was annoying? Frigg was so worried about him. The poor baby had been having bad dreams about his own doom. Welcome to reality, Balder. We all have had dreams, but Frigg couldn't stand the idea that her precious angel might bruise his little foot. She ex- she exact she ex she exacted promises. Excited? promises from everything in creation that nothing would hurt her beautiful son. People, gods, trees, rocks. Can you imagine exacting EXACTING
ES what?
EXACTING
Oh, exacting.
exacting a promise from a rock. Frigg managed it afterward. The gods had a party to celebrate. They started throwing things at Balder just for laughs. Arrows, swords, boulders, each other. Arrows, swords, boulders each other. Nothing would hurt him. It was as if the idiot was surrounded by a force field. Well, I'm sorry. The thought of Mr. Perfect also being Mr. Invulnerable made me sick. I blinked trying to get this thing out of my eyes. Loki's voice was so full of hatred, it seemed to make the air burn. He found a way to kill him. Mistletoe. Loki's smile brightened. Can you imagine? Frigg forgot one tiny little plant. I fashioned a dart from the stuff, gave it to Balder's blind brother, a god named Hod. I didn't want him to miss the fun of chucking deadly objects at Balder. So I guided Hod's hand and, well, Frigg's worst fears came true. Balder deserved it. For being too handsome and popular, yes. For being loved, exactly. Loki leaned forward until we were almost nose to nose. Don't tell me you haven't done the same kinds of things. Those cars you broke into, those people you stole from, you picked people you didn't like. Hey, you picked the rich, handsome, stuck-up snobs who annoyed you. My teeth chattered harder. I never killed anyone. Oh, please, Loki stepped back, examining me with a look of disappointment. It's only a matter of degree. So I killed a god. Big deal. He went to Helium and became an honored guest in my daughter's palace. And my punishment, you want to know my punishment? You were tied on a stone slab. You were tied on a stone slab, I said, with poison from a snake dripping on your face. I know. Do you? Loki pulled it back his cuffs, showing me the raw scars on his wrists. The gods were not content to punish me with internal torture. They took out their wrath upon my two favorite sons, Vali and Narvi. They turned Vali into a wolf and watched with amusement while he disemboweled his brother, Narvi. Then they shot and gutted the wolf. The gods took my innocent son's own entrails. Loki's voice cracked with grief. Well, Magnus Chase, let's just say I was not bound with ropes. Something in my chest curled up and died. Possibly my hopes that they were any kind of justice in the universe. Gods. Loki nodded. Yes, Magnus, the gods. Think about that when you meet Thor. I'm meeting Thor? I'm afraid so. The gods don't even pretend to deal in good and evil, Magnus. It's not the easier way. Might makes right. So tell me, do you really want to charge into battle on their behalf? The ship trembled under my feet. Fog rolled across the deck. Time for you to go, Loki said. Remember what I said. Oh, and have fun getting mouth to mouth from a goat. Wait, what? Loki wiggled his fingers, his eyes full of malicious glee. Then the ship dissolved into Gray's nothingness.
Whoa.
47. I've psychoanalyzed a goat.
Doing awesome, man.
Psychoanalyze.
Psychoanalyze.
Yeah, I psychoanalyze a goat.
Psychologically analyzing a goat.
47. That's the next chapter. Oh, that's pretty good.
You want to stop it there?
Unless you want me to read one more. There's only like 4 more pages to our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages.
I don't know. It's up to the crowd. What do you guys think?
If you feel like you want to keep going, keep
I
going.
probably could do one more.
Okay, go ahead, Dennis, if you want to. It's up to you, really.
Yeah, I'm hooked on this book, man. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And by the way, I like the little Avengers reference. I don't feel so good.
Yeah. All right. I psychoanalyzed a goat. As Loki had promised, I woke up with a goat in my face. Confession time. My only previous my experience with kissing had been with Jackie Molotov in 7th grade, behind the bleachers at a school dance. Yes, I know that's lame, seeing as how I was now 16, but during the past few years, I'd been a little busy, living on the streets and whatnot. Anyway, with apologies to Jackie getting mouth to mouth from a goat, reminded me of her. I rolled over and puked into the river, conventionally located right next to me. My bones felt as if they had been broken and mended with duct tape. My mouth tasted like chewed grass and old nickels. "Oh, you're alive," said the goat. He sounded mildly disappointed. I sat up and groaned. The goat's horns curved outward like the top half of an hourglass. Sicker burrs matted his shaggy brown fur. A lot of questions crowded into my head. Where am I? Why are you a talking goat? Why does your breath smell so bad? Have you been eating spare change? The first question that came out was, where are my friends? The elf and girl asked the goat, "Oh, they're dead." My heart threatened to exit via my throat. What? No. The goat gestured with his horn. A few yards to my right, Hearthstone and Sam lay crumpled on the rocky beach. I scrambled over. I placed my hands on their throats and almost passed out again from relief this time. "They're not dead," I told the goat. "They both have pulses." "Oh," the goat sighed. "We'll give them a few more hours and they'll probably be dead." "What is wrong with you?" "Everything," said the goat. "My whole life is one big never mind." I said, "Just be quiet." The goat brayed. "Sure, I understand you don't want to know my problems. No one does. I'll be over here weeping or whatever, just ignore me." Keeping my hands against Sam's and Hearthstone's corroded arteries, I sent warmth through my fingertips into their circulatory system. Sam was easy to heal. Her heart was strong. She responded almost immediately. Her eyes fluttered open, her lungs gasping for air. She curled sideways and began vomiting, which I took as a good sign. Hearthstone, though, something was wrong beyond the water in his lungs and the cold in his limbs. Right at his core, a dense knot of dark emotions sapped his will to live. The pain was so intense it threw me back to the night of my mother's death. I remembered my hands slipping from the fire escape, the windows of our apartment exploding above me. Hearthstone's grief was even worse than that. I didn't know exactly what he had suffered, but his despair almost overwhelmed me. I grasped for a happy memory, my mom and me picking wild blueberries on Hancock Hill, the air so clear I could see Quincy Bay glittering on the horizon. I sent a flood of warmth into Hearthstone's chest. His eyes flew open. He stared at me, uncomprehending. Then he pointed at my face and gestured weakly the sign of polite. What do you mean? I asked. Sam groaned. She rose on one arm and squinted at me. Magnus, why are you glowing? I looked at my hands. Sure enough, I seemed to have been dipped in full Vanger light. The warm, buttery aura was starting to fade, but I could feel residual power tingling along my arm hairs. Apparently, I said, if I heal too much at once, I glow. Sam winced. Well, thanks for healing us, but try not to self-combust. How is Hart? I helped him up. I helped him sit up. How are you feeling, buddy? He made a circle with his thumb and middle finger, then flicked it forward, the sign for terrible. No surprise, given the depths of pain I'd felt within him. I was surprised he wasn't constantly screaming. Parth, I started to say, when I healed you, he put his hands over mine, a sign language version of hush. Maybe we had some residual connection from the healing magic, but when I met Hearthstone's eyes, I could tell what he was thinking. His message was an almost audible voice in my head, like when Jack the Sword had started to speak. Later, Hart told me, thank you, brother. I was too startled to reply. The goat plodded over. You really should take better care of your elf. They need lots of sunshine, not this weak Dunham light. And you can't overwater them by drowning them in rivers. Hearthstone frowned. He signed. The goat is speaking. I tried to clear my head. Yeah, he is. I also read sign language, said the goat. My name is Tengnadustir, which means teeth grinder, because, well, it's a nervous habit of mine. But nobody calls me Tengnadustir. It's a horrible name. Just call me Otis. Sam struggled to her feet. Her hijab had come undone and now hung around her neck like a gunslinger's bandana. So, Otis, what brings you here to this place? That is, wherever we are. Otis sighed. I got lost, which is typical. I was trying to find my way back to camp when I found you all instead. I suppose you'll kill me and eat me for dinner now. I frowned at Sam. Were you planning to kill the goat? No, were you? I looked at Otis. We weren't planning to kill you. It's okay if you want to, Otis said. I'm used to it. My master kills me all the time. He does? I asked. Oh, sure. I'm basically talking meal. I'm basically a talking meal on four hooves. My therapist says that's why I'm so down all the time. But I don't know. I think it goes way back to when I was a kid. Sorry, wait. Who is your master? Hearthstone spelled out Thor, duh. Thor, duh, Duh. That's right, said the goat, although his last name is not the. You haven't seen him, have you? No, I thought about my dream. I could still smell the bitter almonds on Loki's breath. The gods don't even pretend to deal in good and evil. Man, just think about that when you meet Thor. Junior had told us to check to seek out Thor. The river had somehow brought us to where we needed to be. Only now I wasn't sure I wanted to be here. Sam readjusted her head scarf. I'm not a big fan of Thor, but if he can give us directions to Lengivi, we need to talk to him. Except the goat is lost, I said. So how do we find Thor? Hearthstone pointed to my pendant. Asked Jack. Instead of spelling his name, he made the sign for Jack in a box, which looked like a finger rabbit popping up from behind his hand. Sometimes sign language can be a little too literal. I pulled off the pendant. The sword grew to full length and began to hum. Hey, said Jack. The runes glowing along his blade. Glad you survived. Oh, is that Otis? Cool. Thor must be around here somewhere. Otis pleaded. You have a talking sword? I've never been killed by a talking sword before. That's fine. If you could just make a clean cut right across the throat. Otis, Jack said. Don't you know me? I'm Frey's sword. Summerbrander. We met at that party at Bill Skinner, the one where you were playing tug of war with Loki. Oh, Otis shook his horns. Yes, that was embarrassing. Jack, I said, we're looking for Thor. Any chance you can point us in the right direction? Easy McSqueezy. Easy McSqueezy. The sword tugged at my arm. I'm reading a big concentration of hot air and thunder that way. Sam and I helped Hearthstone to his feet. He wasn't looking too good. His lips were pale green. He wobbled like he'd just gotten off a tilt-a-whirl. Otis, Sam said, can our friend ride you? It might be quicker. Sure, the goat said. Ride me, kill me, whatever. But I should warn you, this is Jotunheim. If we go the wrong way, you'll run across giants. Then you'll all be butchered and put in a stew. Then we'll all be butchered and put in a stew pot.
This is literally like fan art from the book.
Yeah.
They're like, that's Samara and that's Hearthstone and that's Magnus.
Yeah. That's cool. We won't go the wrong way, I promise. Will we, Jack? Said the sword. Oh, no, probably not. Like a 60% chance we'll live. Jack, kidding, he said. Geez, so uptight. He pointed upstream and led us through the foggy morning with spotty snow flurries and a 40% chance of death. 48. Hearthstone passes out even more than Jason Grace, though I have no idea who that is. Jason still up? John?
Yeah, he's still up. We're both here.
So Hearthstone passes out.
We should probably end it there if that's the end of the chapter.
48. Hearthstone passes out from even more than Jason Grace. Though I have no idea who that is.
Me neither.
Well, Jason Grace is in your house.
That's not that Jason. All I know though is I want one of Blitzen's chainmail ties.
All right. I want the talking sword.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we can make a wish, who wouldn't want that? Oh, this was
I
funny.
also
Man.
like Otis. I'd also like Otis to go. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I started laughing when it was like talking goat. I was like laughing so hard.
I know, right? Good old Otis. Otis the goat.
He talks too. What? That was a quick chapter.
Yeah, no, I like how there's like fan art online, so I could kind of like quickly siphon through.
Yeah.
I guess they got to go meet Thor.
Yeah, they're meeting Thor.
Nice.
That doesn't sound good. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
even got Magnus Chase fan art for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Here's Thor.
Yeah. So here's like a preview. There's like a sneak preview. Young him looked a lot like Vermont.
Your sister is still that person, like, who ignored you, and it's like, what do you have to do? Like, oh.
Is that you, Clary?
Yeah. And you walk
Well, we should probably end it there, guys.
Yeah,
But
we will. No, I just give you like a little bit of a sneak preview.
okay, cool.
John and him looked a lot like Vermont.
Dunheim.
Yeah. Jotunheim looked a lot like
Jotunheim.
Vermont.
That's funny.
So it's the next place that they are.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, I can't wait to find out more. They've been through some crazy adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're almost through the book though.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe 2 more, maybe 3 more weeks.
You know how hard it is to find earrings that look like a golden cat with like emerald eyes? It was not easy.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I hope Blitz's mom likes them.
Yeah, right.
But I had like prepared weeks in advance. I was looking everywhere for earring photos. I was like, earrings fit for a goddess. I was like, how about these ones?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But no, they're just golden cats that magically stretch out and show
Right.
their diamond claws.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
I went there, right?
Well, I hope you guys like the pictures that I put up as he's reading.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them.
All right, guys.
yes.
Well, I think we're going to call it a night for Story Fellowship, and we'll see y'all next week. And Dennis, thank you so much for reading again.
You're
Yeah, thank you,
welcome.
Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
What
Yeah.
chapter?
Thank you,
What
Dennis.
chapter do we start on next week?
48.
And how many chapters are left in the book?
God, there's 70. There's only like I'm gonna go to the last. So we're gonna read the epilogue too. So that would be including that. There is 70. There's 72 chapters plus the epilogue.
Okay.
So we're almost
job,
done.
Dennis.
This is how much more we have.
Oh, that's not bad, man.
No.
And then there's more in the series.
Yeah. There's
Cool.
2 more books.
Yeah.
You're the man.
Oh yeah.
Jason Grace, aren't you Jason Grace?
Yeah,
You're Jason Grace.
He's Jason, full of grace.
I listened the whole
Oh,
time
great.
from the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought your name was Jason Grace. No, it's Jason Alexander Smith.
Yeah.
Yep. Alexander's
That's right.
my real name
Oh,
Why do you call you Grace?
because I'm a grace to be your friend.
By,
The special grace.
by the grace of God.
Yeah. Yeah. All
By the
right,
grace
everybody.
of
Have a
God,
good
we're
night.
friends.
Be safe.
All right. Take care, everyone.
You're the man.
Good night.
Good night.
night,
Good night.
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 Bye.
Bye. Peace.